Picture this. A young woman is standing on top of one of the most dangerous cliffs in America. The sun hasn't even come up yet. Her husband is right behind her, camera in hand, ready to take the perfect anniversary photo. 30 seconds later, she is dead. A 1,200-foot fall onto solid rock. For almost 20 years, everyone agreed on what happened. It was an accident. Tragic, but simple. Case closed. But her father never believed it. Not for one single day. And in the summer of 2026, nearly 20 years after she died, he was finally proven right. This is the story of Bernadette Vander Meer. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why a father can look at official police paperwork that says accident and still know, in his gut, that his daughter was murdered. Before we go further, if you're the kind of person who loves cases that stay unsolved for decades and then crack wide open, hit subscribe now, because this channel covers exactly these kinds of stories every week. Let's get into it. Before we talk about how Bernadette died, I want you to really understand who she was when she was alive, because that's going to matter a lot later in this video. Trust me, Bernadette grew up in Las Vegas. She was raised in a religious household, homeschooled, and from a very young age, she had one dream that never left her. She wanted to sing. Not just casually, she wanted to be a professional Christian recording artist. Her mother used to say she had a voice that reminded people of a young Christina Aguilera. She was already working on demo recordings, trying to build a real career out of her talent. But like most people chasing a dream, she also had to pay her bills. So as a teenager, she took small jobs around the city. At one point, she even worked briefly as a nanny for the family of a US senator. Back home in Las Vegas, she got a job at a theme park, performing as a costumed character, singing and dancing for kids all day. There's an old newspaper photo of her from the late 1990s, in full costume, handing a prize to a little girl who had just won a contest. It's such a small moment, but it tells you a lot about who Bernadette was. Someone who spent her days trying to make strangers' children smile. Later, she worked as a cocktail waitress at a hotel and casino on the Las Vegas Strip. And here's something interesting. The women she worked with for years remembered her clearly, even decades later. Even though she served alcohol for a living, her co-workers couldn't remember ever seeing her drink one herself. She'd order water. She gave one of her co-workers, who didn't share her faith, books about God, not to push her beliefs, but because she genuinely cared. She told that coworker she prayed for her every single day. Ask yourself this: how many people do you know who are that consistently kind, even to people who don't believe what they believe? And on top of all that, Bernadette was, in her father's words, a mountain goat. She hiked constantly. She was small, sure-footed, completely fearless on rocky trails. This detail is going to become extremely important, so keep it in your mind. She wasn't just a daughter, she was also somebody's best friend. She and her older sister were incredibly close, the kind of sisters who talk every single day. For 20 years, her sister has had to live without her. Now here's the question I want you to sit with. If you knew someone this careful, this experienced on cliffs and trails, would you believe she just slipped? Bernadette met her future husband, David, when she was just 16 years old. They met through church. She was appearing in a church play, and he was involved with the youth ministry there. They got married when she was only 18. David eventually became a youth pastor. Bernadette became a worship leader at the same church, singing for the congregation, while also working her job at the casino. From the outside, it probably looked like the perfect Christian couple. A pastor and a worship leader, married young, both devoted to their faith. But behind closed doors, something was off, and Bernadette had started to notice it. Her mother remembers Bernadette complaining, a couple of years before her death, that David was always with the youth group, that he had basically stopped paying attention to his own wife. At the time, it just sounded like a normal marital complaint. Every couple goes through rough patches, right? But there was something else too. People who worked with Bernadette at the casino remembered something about David that stuck with them for years afterward. A strange possessiveness. especially when it came to money, especially when it came to their finances as a couple. Now, on its own, none of this proves anything. A husband who's controlling about money and distracted by work is not automatically a killer. But hold on to this detail, because in a few minutes, you're going to see exactly why it mattered. So here's my question for you. Have you ever had a gut feeling about someone that you couldn't quite explain? Bernadette's mother had one, and it turned out she was right to trust it. Now let's get to the day it happened. In August of 2006, David and Bernadette drove out from Las Vegas to Zion National Park in Utah to celebrate their wedding anniversary. They planned to hike one specific trail, Angel's Landing. If you've never heard of Angel's Landing, let me paint the picture for you, because it matters. This is not some easy nature walk. It's one of the most dangerous maintained hiking trails in the entire United States. Near the top, hikers have to climb along a narrow strip of sandstone rock, with drops of over 1,000 feet on both sides. The only thing keeping people from falling are steel chains bolted into the stone. One wrong step, and there is no second chance. Lyford and Bernadette set out before sunrise, planning to reach the top in time to take anniversary photos as the sun came up. Here is what David told investigators happened next. He said they reached the summit and started taking pictures. Bernadette was standing close to the edge. He turned away, just for a moment, to move their backpacks out of the shot, and when he turned back around, she was gone. He said he heard her scream as she fell. By the time rescue crews reached the bottom of the canyon, Bernadette was dead. She was 29 years old, and for almost 20 years, that story was accepted exactly as David told it. Her death was officially ruled an accident. The case was closed. Now, on the surface, this doesn't sound unreasonable. Angel's Landing is genuinely one of the deadliest trails in the entire national park system. Over the years, more than a dozen people have died falling from it. The park eventually had to introduce a permit system just to control how many people could hike it at once, because it was that dangerous. So why would anyone suspect foul play here? A woman falls off one of the most dangerous cliffs in America. Doesn't that just sound like exactly what it looks like? Stick with me, because there's one detail about where Bernadette fell that changes everything. Here's the thing about Angel's Landing that most people don't know. Almost every fatal accident on that trail happens during the climb, on the narrow, exposed sections, where hikers are gripping those steel chains with a sheer drop on either side. That's where people lose their footing. That's where the danger is. But investigators later found something strange. The exact spot where Bernadette went over the edge wasn't on that dangerous climbing section at all. It was near the summit, a flatter, safer stretch of ground. The kind of place experienced hikers, especially ones described as mountain goats, don't typically just fall from. In fact, when other people have died from falling off that exact same summit area over the years, those deaths weren't classified as simple accidents. Some were ruled suicides. Others were labeled suspicious. So here's the uncomfortable question. If the most dangerous part of Angel's Landing is the climb up, and Bernadette didn't fall during the climb, but from the flat, comparatively safe summit, what does that actually tell us? Her father had been saying it for almost 20 years, long before any of this came out. She was a mountain goat. She does not just fall. Turns out, he wasn't just a grieving father in denial. He was right. But it would take investigators nearly 2 decades to catch up to him. Quick pause before we get into how this case actually cracked open, because this next part of the story is honestly the most disturbing. If you're finding this case as unsettling as I do me a favor, hit that like button. It genuinely helps this video reach more people who love true crime as much as we do. And if you're not subscribed yet, now's the time, because I break down a new case just like this one every week. Also, I want to know what you think down in the comments. Do you think David planned this from the beginning, or do you think something happened in the moment? Drop your theory below. I read every single one. Okay, let's keep going, because this is where the case takes a dark turn. For years, this case just sat there, closed, forgotten. Bernadette became one more name in a long list of Angel's Landing tragedies. Then, in 2022, something happened that nobody expected. A senior pastor from the church where David had worked came forward to investigators. He told them plainly, he did not believe Bernadette's death was an accident. He believed David had pushed her. That tip reopened the door on a case that had been shut for 16 years. And what investigators found on the other side of that door was disturbing. There were allegations that David, while working as a youth pastor, a man trusted by parents to guide their children, had used that position to begin a secret relationship with a teenage girl in his own youth group. Court documents refer to her only by her initials, SH. According to what she later told investigators, the relationship became inappropriate when she was still a teenager, and it continued for years afterward. Now here's where it gets almost too disturbing to say out loud. Investigators eventually asked this woman a simple, direct question. Had David ever said anything about Bernadette? Anything about wanting to be with her, SH, instead? And according to the documents, David had told her this: the only way they could ever truly be together was if Bernadette wasn't alive. Read that again. This wasn't a man talking about divorce. This was a man talking about his wife not existing anymore. Now here's the timeline that should send a chill down your spine. According to investigators, SH met with David on August 20th, 2006, to end things between them. The very next morning, David and Bernadette left for Zion National Park. 2 days after that, Bernadette was dead. Do you see it now? What looked like a random hiking tragedy suddenly lines up perfectly with a motive that had been hiding in plain sight for 20 years. But motive is only half the puzzle. Prosecutors needed something else. Something that would show this wasn't just about a secret relationship. They needed to show it was planned. And that's where the life insurance comes in. Here's what investigators found. About a year and a half before Bernadette died, David had taken out life insurance policies for both of them, worth around $150,000 each. That's already a normal, responsible thing for a young married couple to do. Nothing suspicious yet. But then, just 8 months before Bernadette's death, David increased those policies, not by a little. He raised the coverage all the way up to around $600,000 each. After Bernadette died, after her death was officially ruled a tragic accident, David filed the insurance claim. Investigators say he eventually collected a payout of over $567,000. Now think about the timeline here. Increase the insurance, wait a few months. Wife dies in a fall. Collect over $500,000. And here's a detail that haunted Bernadette's mother for almost 20 years. On the very morning of the day Bernadette died, before she even left for Zion, she stopped by and mentioned something to her mom. She said they had increased their life insurance policy. But she didn't seem to fully realize just how much David had increased it, or that he'd apparently done it more than once. Prosecutors would later argue this wasn't a one-time thing either. They pointed to a pattern. Multiple insurance claims David had filed over roughly an 8-year period, which they say points to a repeated scheme. So now we have a hidden relationship, a chilling statement about his wife needing to be gone, and a massive life insurance payout collected right after her death was ruled an accident. Does that still sound like a woman who simply lost her footing to you? Or does it sound like something else entirely? For Bernadette's parents, none of this came as a shock. It was confirmation of something they had quietly believed for 19 years. Her mother had actually found some of those insurance policies in the months after Bernadette died. She remembered a young woman, the same young woman it turns out, who used to call David constantly. And she remembered her daughter's own growing suspicion of her husband in the weeks before that trip. According to her mother, Bernadette had even confronted David directly before they left for Zion, about the girl, about the state of their marriage. She'd apparently told him that if he didn't change, she was going to leave him. 1 to 2 weeks later, she was dead. When the arrest finally happened, decades later, this family didn't describe feeling shocked. They described feeling something closer to vindication, a word they used again and again. 20 years of "we always knew," finally acknowledged by the justice system. While Bernadette's family spent 2 decades grieving, David built an entirely different life. He'd actually been fired from his church years earlier. The affidavit says it was for hosting parties for underage youth group members, giving them alcohol, and letting them gamble. Let that sink in for a second. Given everything else you now know about him, he moved through a string of other jobs after that. By 2026, he was working as a counselor at a charter school, a position of trust over children again. And he was also teaching yoga at a studio where his students knew him as calm, grounded, gentle. He'd also been married and divorced 3 separate times since Bernadette's death. One of those marriages, remarkably, was to S.H., the same woman from his youth group. That marriage ended too. When parents at the charter school found out about the murder charge, they didn't hear it from the school. They heard it from the news. And you can imagine how furious some of them were, realizing this man had been around their kids the entire time. On June 22, 2026, U.S. Marshals arrested David Vander Meer at the Summerlin Yoga Studio where he taught. He was booked into the Clark County Detention Center in Las Vegas, awaiting extradition back to Utah to face charges of murder and insurance fraud. His first court hearing was scheduled for that Thursday morning. Everyone expected a routine extradition proceeding. That is not what happened. When his case was called, the judge simply announced that the defendant had died. According to police, David had been found in his cell with self-inflicted injuries. He was rushed to the hospital, but he died there. He'd been in custody for only 3 days. Investigators later revealed he'd left behind a handwritten will and a note. There would be no trial, no verdict, no cross-examination of S.H., no chance for the full truth to ever be tested in a courtroom. Bernadette's family learned about his death that same morning, before the hearing even started, and their reaction wasn't simple triumph. It was something much more complicated. Relief, grief, and confusion, all mixed together. Her father actually said it felt like justice, but harsher than he expected. He said he would have preferred David spend real time in prison, with time to reflect on what he'd done. There was one thing that did lift, though, a fear the family had quietly carried for years, that David might one day retaliate against them. That fear was finally gone. And in a moment that says a lot about who this family really is, they said they were praying for David's family too. They said they had forgiven him. The only person they publicly thanked was S.H., the woman who, decades later, finally told the truth. Now, I have to be completely honest with you here. David Vander Meer was never convicted of anything. He was charged, but he died before any of it could be proven in a court of law. Legally, the allegation that he killed his wife remains just that, an allegation. But strip away everything that could never be proven, and here's what's left, undisputed. Bernadette Vander Meer wanted to sing. She spent her days making children smile. She prayed for a coworker who didn't even share her faith. She was somebody's best friend for her entire life. And she was so sure-footed, so careful on a mountain, that the people who knew her best could never believe she simply fell. 20 years later, the people who loved her are still missing everything about her. So let me ask you one final question before you go. If it took a stranger's tip and a hidden relationship almost 20 years to bring even this much truth to light, how many other accidents out there are exactly the same? Let me know what you think in the comments. And if this case pulled you in the way it pulled me in, make sure you're subscribed, because I've got more cases just like this one coming every single week. I'll see you in the next video.